Hello and welcome to today's edition of Your Questions Answered with Father Gruner. I'm John Veneri. In this program, we take the questions that you send to us and Father Gruner answers, and we have discussions about them. And keep sending us these questions, please, at questions@thefatimacenter.com. This question says, in the advertisement for the upcoming Catholic Family News Conference in May in Illinois, as presented, in the March issue CFN, you mention Our Lady's message of Fatima of comfort and hope. Given that the predicted chastisement is supposed to destroy as much as 3/4 of the world population, and given that those who survive will envy the dead, how does a message of comfort and hope fit into that picture?
Well, it fits in very well, but people might say, I certainly appreciate the question, but first of all, I think the first thing is that when we look around, there's two things.
First of all, those things aren't specifically mentioned in Fatima. I think they're from other things.
Well, the idea that those who survive will envy the dead is from Akita. However, I don't think that it's out of context.
Right, yeah.
In the sense
just to make it clear.
Yeah, just to make it clear. But my point being that the message of Fatima does, and to quote Fatima, various nations will be annihilated. And that another part of the message of Fatima says that the Blessed Virgin has told me and my cousins Jacinta and Francisco many times that Russia is the instrument of chastisement chosen by heaven to punish the whole world unless you obtain the conversion of that poor nation. Now that's a direct quote from Sister Lucy, 1957. So, and she says she got that directly from Our Lady at Fatima. So just putting, so it is proper to say that destroying, whether it's 3/4 of the world's population, or whether it's only 1/4, or whether it's only, 10 million people in one nation, God knows what it's going to be, but it's going to be terrible. And so the questioner asks is, how is this a message of comfort and hope? Well, there's two things to take from this. One is, first of all, when you think that mankind we have recorded history for 6,000 years. There are people that who say we've been around a lot longer. Well, we have recorded history for 6,000 years. So of that recorded history for 6,000 years, there are people who have done the count. There are 14,400 plus wars in those 6,000 years of recorded history. The message of Fatima is going to bring that era, that whole history of mankind, from the very beginning, from the time of the killing of Abel to our present day, when the consecration of Russia is done, that will be over. Let me tell you, we've had the whole world wiped out in the time of Noah, and we still had wars after that. We have this consecration of Russia taking place, and we will not have wars after that. Now that's something, that's a big change, okay? And it's been predicted in sacred scripture. It's predicted in Isaiah that a time will come when they'll turn their swords into plowshares. They were spending over $1 trillion a year. That's a lot of money. Every year, mankind, and I'm just putting in dollars, it doesn't matter what exchange it is, we're spending that much effort, time, money to build weapons of destruction. And these weapons of destruction are phenomenal, and scientifically they're amazing, but as used against us or anybody, they're horrifying. And so this stuff will all stop when we finally listen and do what she says. Unfortunately, in my estimation, I've been at this for 37 years and more, 37 and a half years, and people are not listening, they're not paying attention. They think that, Father Gruner, you've been saying that before, who cares? Not everybody does that, but a lot of people are doing that. And certainly the people that should know better, the people in the Vatican, the people in the bishops, the cardinals, the priests, they're basically saying, now, God knows what their heart is, but effectively, they're not making much of it, okay? And now they might be in privately in their confessionals, they might be saying the private counseling, I can't speak for that. But publicly, they're not talking about it anywhere near sufficient. And so we have these prophecies. If it's not done in time, we will have the annihilation of nations. So how many? It's going to be more than one nation, we know that. And it's going to be the entire nation, wiped off the face of the earth. And she said, I think Lucy in that same interview talked about many people will be wiped off the face of the earth. Many people. So we're not talking about, I don't know what the biggest nation there is, but it's got to be a few million people. We're talking about a lot of people being wiped off the face of the earth. So we're talking about some sort of sudden and completely destructive, and and it'll be those nations just like Sodom and Gomorrah are, even today we talk about it, although it's been, 5,000 years ago since it happened. We can still talk about it because it's such a phenomenal destruction that fire comes from heaven and destroys the city, and then they're buried in the depths of one of these dead seas, landlocked dead seas. It's still remarkable after 5,000 years. Well, these nations that are going to be wiped out because we don't listen in time, they'll be remarked about for another 5,000 years at least. That's what's facing it. But is it a message of comfort and hope? Well, for those who do survive, for those who finally, by the mercy of God, survive this and finally wake up and finally decide to listen to Our Lady of Fatima, for them it will be comfort and hope because they will finally do the consecration and we'll finally have peace in the world.
Well, of course, she did say, in the end, the Immaculate Heart will triumph.
Yes.
The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me,
right,
and all of these things.
And the whole world will have peace.
And it's comfort and hope in the fact that it's like when you read the Apocalypse. If you read the end of the books, you learn we're on the winning side.
Yeah.
And stay with Our Lady, we're on the winning side, and we have that comfort and assurance, and that is.
But I think the other thing for a person says, well, what about me? I'm living in the middle of sin country X. We won't name the country; it doesn't really matter. And so my country is going to be hit hard, if not annihilated. It's going to be hit hard. So that's not much comfort and hope for me. But we have to remember, Our Lady, as Lucy says, Our Lady will protect her dear ones. So if you take the message of Fatima, you take it to heart. Not just listen to it, but you apply it. You pray your rosary every day. You wear your scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. You keep the commandments. You frequent the communion and confession. And you do your best. You have the example Our Lady gives us during the Second World War, is that in Hiroshima, you have these 8 priests who are less than a mile from ground zero, and buildings all around them, and much further away, are completely destroyed, and there are people all killed. Then you got people even further away who are killed by radiation, and then others who die later from radiation. These men are almost at ground zero. Not quite, but almost. And they survive. And not only do they survive, they prosper. Basically, they're still alive 30 years later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Our Lady does offer that protection, and that is really the root of the comfort and the hope that she gives. So there's a lot more we could say about this, but we're out of time. So stay close to Our Lady of Fatima, and we live the message, and pray that these catastrophes can be.
Well, they can be averted if they will only obey.
If they obey Our Lady of Fatima. Yeah. So thank you, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.